Welcome to another episode of China Update, where I provide you with the most up-to-date political, economic, and geostrategic analysis on the world's number 2 economy. My name is Tony. Let's jump in. Happy Wednesday, everybody. China has seen a significant drop in its number of dollar billionaires over the past 3 years, with the total shrinking by more than a third. This is according to China-based Huran's Rich List. This decline, driven by government crackdowns, economic weakness, and stagnant stock markets, saw the number of billionaires fall from a peak of 1,185 in 2021 to 753, a 36% drop. This reduction outpaced a 10% decrease in the renminbi value against the dollar. Over the last year alone, the number of billionaires fell by 16%, while the renminbi only dropped by 2.5%. UK-based The Financial Times reporting on this writes that the list has also shifted considerably, with older billionaires in industries like property development being replaced by tech entrepreneurs. Zhang Yiming, the founder of ByteDance, owner of TikTok, now tops the list with a $49 billion fortune, overtaking Zhong Shanshan, the so-called bottled water king, whose company, Nongfu Springs, shares dropped 40% after social media allegations of being too pro-Japanese. Traditional sectors like real estate have been hit hardest, especially following a slump in China's property market, now entering its 4th year. However, e-commerce billionaires have shown resilience despite regulatory pressure. Tencent founder Pony Ma ranks 3rd, with Pinduoduo's Colin Huang in 4th. Alibaba's Jack Ma, once the top of the list in 2020, now ranks 10th after regulatory issues with Alipay. 15% of Rich List members reside outside mainland China, including in Hong Kong, Macau, Taiwan, and 30 members live in the US and Singapore, with the latter becoming a favored haven for China's ultra-wealthy. While ordinary people will likely shed few tears for billionaires losing some money, the reality is the shrinking pool of the ultra-wealthy is reflective of the poor state of the economy generally in recent years, and therefore also means that many regular people are suffering too. The reduced dynamism in the economy hurts all. However, Beijing leadership will unlikely see this dropping billionaire number as a serious red flag. Indeed, the most hard-left officials may see it as positive. Indeed, this week, General Secretary Xi Jinping spoke at the opening of a study session for principal officials at the provincial and ministerial level at the Central Party School. Xi made it clear what his vision is for the country, and the implications for the economy are clear. He expressed, quote, "Our reform has clear direction and principles. We must adhere to the party's overall leadership, uphold Marxism, maintain socialism with Chinese characteristics, and persist in people's democratic dictatorship, with promoting social fairness and justice and improving people's well-being as our starting point and ultimate goal. These are fundamental, directional, and long-term principles that embody the party's nature and purpose, conform to China's national conditions, and align with the people's fundamental interests. They must never waver under any circumstances." End quote. We should expect more socialism and state control going forward. And speaking of state-driven economic policy, in an exclusive report published today, UK-based Reuters, citing 2 unnamed sources, writes that the National People's Congress Standing Committee, meeting next week, may approve the issuance of over 10 trillion yuan, $1.4 trillion in extra debt to stimulate the economy. Quote, "A fiscal package which is expected to be further bolstered if Donald Trump wins the US election." End quote. The report, which echoes what we saw from a Caixin piece a few weeks ago, writes that the package would include 6 trillion RMB of debt issued in 2024, 2025, and 2026, whose, quote, "proceeds would primarily be used to help local governments address off-the-books debt risks." End quote. Regular viewers will remember over the weekend we discussed the poor fiscal health of local governments, which, in addition to massive on- and off-the-books debt, also has back pay owed to contractors and public service workers, equal to 10% of GDP. Chinese financial media outlet Yicai reports this week that local authorities in China are seeking to secure the yet-to-be-announced new quotas that will enable them to replace hidden debt with more manageable official debt, in what the finance minister has described as the strongest debt relief measures in recent years. Henan province will continue to report its financial situation to the finance ministry and coordinate with it to secure a larger hidden debt swap quota, more transfer payments, and other policy benefits, Liu Xiangyu, its finance deputy, said in a recent press conference. A finance official from another province told Yicai that their local administration is urgently compiling a report with the most up-to-date figures in preparation for the forthcoming new quotas. Some Chinese commentators have sounded a warning about a stimulus package of this size, however. At a public forum hosted by the China Institute for New Urbanization at Tsinghua University, Liu Shijin, former deputy director of the Development Research Center of the State Council, explained that stimulus comes with a cost. Liu pointed out that China faces significant demand pressure, with key indicators like consumption, employment, and fiscal revenue showing signs of slowing or contracting. Data from September showed retail sales grew by only 3.2% year-on-year, up from the previous month but still below last year's 5.5%. On stimulating consumption, Liu questioned the effectiveness of cash distributions, what he called helicopter money, suggesting it wouldn't address deeper issues, especially for low-income groups facing housing, healthcare, and education challenges. He proposed instead to support essential consumption needs through targeted subsidies and to address development consumption, like housing and healthcare, for low-income and migrant workers, focusing on converting unsold housing into affordable units. Liu argued that demand issues stem from structural income challenges. China's middle-income group represents only about a third of the population, roughly 400 million people, he says, while low-income individuals make up the remaining two-thirds. Increasing the middle-income group could support longer-term growth. To expand this group, Liu proposed raising urbanization to 75% over the next decade and improving public services to close the urban-rural gap. This could increase the middle-income group, creating a stronger base for sustained economic growth and reducing demand constraints. 10 trillion yuan is also about what markets would want to hear to believe Beijing is serious about fiscal stimulus and not bail out of the stock market. We now have to wait till the end of the National People's Congress Standing Committee meeting next week to know what exactly this fiscal stimulus package looks like. Next up, we have one more development to cover, but just quickly, if you're getting some value from today's episode, as always, I have a huge favor to ask. That is just hit the like button. If you have not done so already, subscribe and share this episode with someone who you think would get some value from it. This is the only way in which this channel can grow and will hopefully get the channel out of YouTube's algorithm purgatory, which it has been in for about a month and a half now. Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee links are also in the description below. I primarily rely on subscriber support to keep going, so this is a tremendous help too. Thank you so much. Next up, Japanese financial media outlet Nikkei Asia and several other outlets are reporting that Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Co. has suspended shipments to at least 2 chip developers over suspicions that they were attempting to circumvent US export controls on Huawei technologies. We covered this earlier this week. The 2 companies have placed orders to produce chips using TSMC's advanced 7nm process technology, the sources told the outlet. The gradual increase in volume of these orders has raised alarm bells at the Taiwanese chipmaker. TSMC previously said it had proactively reached out to the US Commerce Department following media reports that the company had concerns about a client potentially placing orders on behalf of Huawei. Taiwanese government officials have also come out and said the company had communicated with the US Department of Commerce, adding that TSMC immediately stopped shipments to the company and informed both the US and Taiwan governments. Veteran China analyst Bill Bishop commented on the development today, expressing, quote, TSMC clearly had some sort of compliance failure. Key questions are how that happened, how many companies were able to circumvent the restrictions, and who at TSMC knew what and when. Regardless of the answers, I would not expect the US government to penalize TSMC in a meaningful way. The company has too much leverage, but the spotlight around Huawei's circumvention of US controls may force some more action from the US Department of Commerce, even in the last days of the lame duck Biden administration. End quote. Okay, that is today's episode of China Update. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Have a good Wednesday, and I will see you all tomorrow.